Though I like it because this way we get you fresh and it's
I'm always fresh.
Well, you aren't. No, this is true. You won't be influenced by anything. He said. John is now listening, saying, "Just ask a question."
Hey, John.
Two-game losing streak, which you haven't had a lot of, and now you got a Western Conference kind of. Seattle, a well-developed team, and you guys are right next to each other in the standings. You want to win every game, but how do you look at this game, the importance of this game?
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game with 3 points on the line, and for sure you've spoken about all the pointers, what teams coming to town, where the point standings are, Again, that does not, I would hate that be an indicator if we're going to give everything or not. Everything should be on the line every single day, right? So, and for sure there's moments of ebbs and flows through a season, and you get to mitigate through those, just as every other team has. If you look at the league, some teams are on a hot streak, some teams are on a streak that, they wouldn't like to be in. So again, we're just focusing on our next game. It's a very respectable opponent. They did a complete roster turnaround last night in the Open Cup, so we expect their fullest, fittest, strongest team, and that's something that we gauge ourselves by every single time to see if we can keep up and keep on pushing and being competitive and turning CITYPARK into this fortress that we know it is and become, and for 3 points.
What have you kind of worked on in practice this week to take advantage of those moments, when you get the moments, to be able to maximize them?
Exactly that. Yeah. Maximizing those moments.
What does that look like? What does that entail? Just creating moments? And
yeah, you take scenarios out the game. It's we look at the game as a puzzle. Each scenario represents a different puzzle, and how we can exploit that, and how we can be the benefactors of exploitation, whether it's in transition both ways, whether it's in a possession phase, or clinical defending our box, defending outside our box, cutting supply. So we've gone through a lot of things this week, but not overthinking it, because that leads to then a chain of, a weird road where you create problems that were never there to begin with.
Hi, Coach. Something Roman talked about was maybe more physicality in duels, maybe being tougher in duels. Have you seen that in training this week?
Yeah, I don't think it's just about being physical. I think it's being one step ahead. If you're one step ahead and proactive in your thoughts, the way we like to defend is ball orientation, proactive forward defending, right? If we're one step ahead in our thoughts, then you sometimes don't even need the physicality part, right? If you're physical, it means you've lost the moment, and now you just have to, it's the battle of will and desire, which is also a character trait, which is also something that we need to put on the line, and 100%, right? We try and be proactive. We try and stop things before they happen. We try and create things before the other opponent can react and see them as well. So, again, it's just sharpness in the body and the mind as well.
Bradley, Pedro de la Vega just got back into playing for Seattle, played last week. And I know we talk about DPs a lot. I feel like we do that every week. But knowing he just got back and there is not much video of him, how do you prepare for a player like him?
Yeah, I mean, we can go back and look at former sort of games from previous teams and stuff like this. This is what we can do. What we can't do is know what his pathway is and how many minutes and what have you. So we don't want to consume ourselves. We do a good job of whether it's the DP or whether it's, the number 6 that no one looks at, right? Not talking about Seattle. I'm just saying whether, in the way we approach games, we furnish the players with a complete package of what the tendencies are of these players, right? So, like I said, whether it's the DP or the right back that no one thinks about, right? So every opponent on our team, or every player on our team knows something about their opponent on their direct side. And whether if that happens to be him, then we'll account for that as well. So, yeah, we always like to play the best because that's a good gauge for us where we are in our development. And as you've seen every weekend, there's a lot of good players out there, which keeps on challenging us and makes us better.
Coach, in the interest of focusing on yourselves, it feels like since the very beginning of the season there have been some injuries and some off-the-field issues that you guys have had to battle. Are you eager, now that it looks like everyone is healthy, to maybe find some momentum moving forward?
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, a strong, fully fit, healthy roster elevates training status and levels, intensity, quality, because something's on the line every single day. So we try and drive internal competition. We try and drive, and we obviously incentivize the winners in training every single day and what have you. So once we get a full complement of a roster, and now it starts to look different, right? You can just feel the different energy. You can feel a different tension, positive tension in the air. That every play matters in training, and that's what I think Roman also speaks about. When he's sitting here behind here. So again, it's good things. I embrace this. We embrace this as a club. For sure, there's tough decisions, but as long as you're transparent and open, the players find a way to respect it. They don't agree with it, but they find a way to respect it.
Coach, Seattle is obviously a possession-oriented team, but this year they've had issues in turning that possession into shot-creating opportunities. Do you see anything that your club needs to do, changing their approach in high pressing, mid-blocks, that can better take advantage of what Seattle?
Well, they have really good players, right? So, they have different components to their game. And different elements, and something that we're trying to build into a bit of unpredictability, like, is Rui Diaz dropping underneath? Is Morris running in behind? Is Manungu dribbling on the side? Like, you're trying to create, and that's something that they've done well with, is to try and be a little bit less unpredictable in certain moments. So yeah, they're very dangerous, because when you think you've got one thing sorted out, then transition with Morris will always hurt you every single day. So to mitigate these things, to be proactive, one step ahead as well, in trying to stop them and stop their freedom and the creativity. The big game changer for me is Rusnak. He can dictate the pace of play, he can elevate the pace of play, and he knows exactly what pass is needed, right? So the link-up play through Rusnak is going to be very, very important, but this is something that, you don't need me to tell you. He's a very good player, as are a lot of their players on their roster, right? So, I know they have a suspension at left back, and we'll deal with that too. Whoever they decide to put on there. So yeah, they rested guys. We're expecting a fully fit, healthy, strong team coming against us.
Do you change any of your tactics based on a player like Nuhu not being available on left back? Does that seem like an area to target in a sense?
No, not particularly. We have our game plan, and we have different variables in the game to exploit space and time. So yeah, we'll continue to work on those things and try and exploit the things that made of. I think we've seen many good progressions this year. They haven't always turned out into goals, but we've had some successful moments in the final third, and we just continue to harp on that regardless of opponent.
Jen?
Hi, Coach. Just want to go back to your comment about the positive tension. There's always, when things are that competitive, it can tip. How do you keep the scales from tipping to the negative part that can
Yeah, you don't want to fall into the tense moment. I think sometimes, as a leader, as a coach, as a senior teammate or member, if you jump in when the tensions are high, then it can boil over. Sometimes you need that pause to breathe, and usually, the endorphins settle down, and then you can approach it in a nice manner, right? So you sometimes have to bite your tongue for 5-10 seconds, and the moment passes, and then you could come through with the moment, because if you jump straight in and try and solve something straight away when players are trying to sort out a situation, that usually is a recipe for disaster. So sometimes it's just a little pause moment to let the tension, it's just a momentary chemical exchange in your brain. Once that settles down, and then you can now come with a bit of, make a bit of sense out of the situation. Yeah.
If I don't see any online questions, we'll finish up with Tom.
So is there nobody on the injury report this week? Is everybody fully available?
Everyone seems to be fully available, yeah.
Wow. You haven't had that in
Yeah, it's a
probably
good
all
sign.
year.
Everyone's itching to play. Everyone's, chomping at the bit to get game minutes here, to be part of the roster, and we have a good group of guys, So again, ebbs and flows, but deep down at the core, at the foundation, we have a group of fantastic human beings, just trying to do their job as best they can.
Totland had 4, and he got his 1 yellow card subtracted. Durkin got his. You're down to Tim. You're looking forward to getting.
That doesn't interest me. I would rather make a key play, get the suspension, if it meant that we conceded a goal in that moment, right? So in the moment, a player should never think about, do I challenge or not, to just survive one more game. That's the wrong mentality to go by. So I don't even think that plays a role. Should never play a role.
You didn't see any of that from either Chris or Thomas in their.
Yeah, I can never fault those guys for trying or lack thereof. So yeah, never.
All right.
All right, thank you.
all.